Time on the track.
Once we started graduating, everybody was doing their own thing, but we forever remained New York Incorporated. You know, Denny went back to Queens, but Denny was like the first person that put out a hip-hop record in New Orleans. He did the flip of LL Cool J's My Radio. So in '85, Denny dropped My Camaro. And we was part of that crew, and we would be on stage, and he would be singing it, and people loved, they loved the record. So, yeah, it had a lot to do with just us growing up. It wasn't that we separated, but we started doing different things,
And so this, like in that era, bounce wasn't even a sound yet. At that time, it was like almost like that's what used to have me confused. I thought like when Ninja Crew and all those, I thought they was already major artists because they had like this New Orleans. It was like breakdance in New Orleans. It was like a New York vibe, but in New Orleans. So even when I knew Sporty and them was rapping, I'm like, them dudes must have got a deal. They must be from, somewhere bigger,
right. No, but they were founded. Foresight Records signed them. Because whenever we would have a show, Greg would call me and say, Boo, how much time y'all have? So if we had 20 minutes, I would ask Denny, Ninja Crew want to know, can they come on the set? And so, yeah, and they were so good. They had Baby T was their DJ. He
Terrence.
Was a little kid, cutting and scratching, mixing, blending, like doing his thing. And, of course, Greg and the late great Sporty T, they were serious MCs, even when they was in a rescue crew, because it was Gregory D, Sporty T, ERC, LRP.
Oh, I ain't know ERC. I ain't know all of them was the group at one time. They
was the rescue crew. They was dope. They was a dope thing.
Right.
And Tanya P was the only girl with them. Now, then she put a record out in '86, Pee Wee's Beat. And it was the flip side of the record. You remember the Pee Wee Herman? So she did Pee Wee's Beat. Then Verna McKay had a girl, Precious T. She did a flip of LL's I Need Love, You Found Love. We had a lot of people putting out records in New Orleans in the early and mid '80s.
Why them people like that you talk about? They was so good, because I hear that from everybody. Why they didn't reach the heights of Mil X?
So, number one, it was the '80s.
Fix it for him.
It was the '80s, and at the time, the mecca of it all is New York, and most of those artists from New York. Give or take, a few artists that came out on the West, like we had Ice-T, but it was New York really getting put on.
Right.
And even to this day, New Orleans is still looked at as this small place, even though we have influenced everything from jazz all the way to hip-hop. But that's what it was. And back then, unfortunately, a lot of artists got shelved. Like, they might put a record out, but if the record is only distributed regionally and it's not like all over, it don't get a chance to catch the fire.
Put them on the shelf.
And then they'll shelf the next project. It wasn't that they didn't deserve to be as big as all of the rap pioneers, because they are definitely New Orleans pioneers. But it's just one of them things, because even like, myself, it took me a while to catch on in the rest of the world. The South is so big. I had the backing of the South to take me gold and platinum before the other coast, Midwest, East Coast, West Coast really started to catch on. And that's what happens a lot,
But it seemed like, well, I'm going to ask you first. At them times, did people have the time like now you got to grind, Like you ain't had that to be like, man, I'm about to give up on this. It ain't working. Like MEANA had a situation to where you got support out the gate. You already talk about that. Was that how it was for you? It was no like hard grind. It just
no. It was always hard for me because even with me putting out my first records, I wasn't with nobody.
Right.
I didn't have
No
partners,
backing.
didn't
Yeah,
have
no backing.
crews, didn't have nothing. So I physically, with DJ Cheese, my friend Jill, we had 2 double cassette players, and we was 1, 2, 3 record. That's how we was making my records.
Yeah.
And then we had to go physically to every club in the city and hope the DJ let me sing my record. And then after you sing the record, I'm like, they got tapes in the back if y'all want tapes.
Right.
Like, it was all leg work, all grind, with absolutely no money behind me. I didn't even have my picture on the cassette because I had nothing.
right. So
Like,
it was all talent. Once they heard it,
yeah,
it was it though.
yeah.
Once they
And
heard
then
it,
I was fat. You understand what
Right.
I'm saying? I wasn't coming in with like no Coca-Cola bottle, nothing for the guys to
Right.
look at. They had to simply listen
That-
to me.
that- yeah, they had
but
to
I had nothing, like a black tape with a white X, and before that, just a piece of white cardboard that we slipped the tape in and put saran wrap around it. My grind
Out the
is
mud.
out the crawfish mud. No, I'm out the crawfish mud. That's a slimy, thicker mud.
Yeah, right,
You know,
right.
I had absolutely no backing, like nothing, and we literally had to put the legwork in and go places, you know, in territories that was uncharted for me.
Right.
Because, you know, when we were younger, meaning, you know, usually you stayed in the area that
That
you
you
were
from.
raised in.
Yeah,
right.
Shit, I had to go to Newton's,
Yeah.
Detour,
Right.
49,
49s.
Mr. B's. I had to go in them places and talk all of that shit that I was
What's
talking
talking?
on the record. Don't know if somebody gonna punch me in the face.
Right.
But I had to do that.
when it was when you told Cheese like, oh, we got this break, we in there. What day that was or what happened to make everything change from what you talking about right now, though?
I think when Payback dropped and when Payback was actually able to be pressed in a real tape,
Right.
and the Chronic dropped on the lake, all you heard was Payback and the Chronic. And to see men not afraid to go in a record store and say, give me that girl. I don't know what her name, Mirror X, Mirror
Yeah.
X, Maya X.
Mirror X.
Yeah, they call me
Yeah.
everything. Give me that girl.
Yeah, that girl,
So
right.
seeing guys, because guys didn't really buy, you know, women's
Music.
So to see guys buy me like my name was Doug or something, I knew that it was different. And then going and doing the concerts and seeing a movement created with the ladies and the men, the ladies being really proud that I had put a record out
To
like
answer.
that. Yeah, that's when I knew.
What brought the Payback? You know, what motivated you to write that?
Okay, so first of all, I fell in love with Bounce in Ghost Town when I saw Tucker and Irv. Irv spinning the 2 Trigger Mans back to back, and Tucker just chanting, and the girl, Mini Rat, she like on her elbows
Yeah,
going across
cutting
the ball popping. It was just something. It was amazing. And then there were records that came out after that where you just knew Bounce was a good thing. But when God Bless the Dead, Everlasting Hitman,
Yeah, a lot of people don't speak on him.
everybody running round town.
Biting Tucker rap. All right.
See, when he came out-
just don't know that I am the real nigga, the nigga.